just talk a little bit about the campaign. I want to answer some questions for you guys. So as I get kicked off here, put your questions in the comments below, and I will get those and answer the good ones, and I'll ignore the dumb ones. So I'll just go ahead and warn you about that. But yeah, so I'm AJ Massey, running for Madison County Mayor. I am pretty much a lifelong Madison County resident. Been here for a real long time. Went to USJ till the ninth grade. JCM 9 through 12, Union University for my Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration, and got an MBA from Union a few years later. Married, 2 kids, been married 17 years to Lauren, my middle school sweetheart. We have two boys, an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. My 8-year-old's in a public school here in town, and my 3-year-old's just being a 3-year-old. We've built a career here in Madison County. I've been a banker for 17 years and in financial services, so really worked with a few different banks here in town and done some high-level commercial finance, as well as lending for homes and cars and things like that. But got to know our community really well and the needs of the community that way. So joined the school board in 2018, and that was my first foray into politics. So that was something that was never planned. I didn't ever strategically do that, but I just saw an opportunity to serve in an area where I knew my son was starting the public schools, and I wanted to be a part of the solution rather than be a complainer. So we wanted to add to, not take away. So jumped on the school board, and fortunately was able to run unopposed. So been on the school board since 2018, and we've seen some different times for the first few years. The last couple of years have been really a pleasure. We've had some great successes. If y'all have questions about that, I'll be glad to answer any of those. But we've climbed some high mountains this past couple of years with our school system, and I'm really, really proud of the progress there. So now here we are, 2022, county mayor's race comes up. Had the opportunity to kind of look at the landscape of Madison County and what the next couple of decades are going to look like, and I just, obviously, anybody that's paying attention, there's so much opportunity for growth and expansion and new homes and new families and big things for our county. And I looked around and just didn't see anybody that I thought was going to capitalize on that I thought was going to be active enough and proactive enough to get what we need out of this next decade to 2 decades. And so began to pray about the way I could contribute, the way that I could add to the positivity, and really just was revealed that I needed to do this. And so the last, several years here in Madison County, really 29 years or so in Madison County, I've met people from all walks of life and have developed a friend base that's just enormous. And you don't really ever think about that, but when you start thinking about, well, do I have the votes? Do I have the friends? Do I have the relationships to do something like this? You have to think about where's my impact going to lie? And so that's really what pushed me into the race, honestly, besides just feeling led. Was the massive amount of good quality friends that I have that love and respect me, and the feeling is mutual. So I thought, this could actually happen. This could actually work. And so here we are, guys. A few days away. Early voting ended today at 4 o'clock. Election day is, of course, Tuesday, May 3rd. And we are off to the races. Tuesday is going to be a wild day, sun up to sundown. We're going to be working polls and driving around town and doing some big things that day. But we're feeling really good about things. I've never done this before, so I can't really tell you where we should be, or that this measure matched the last time I did this and that turned out well. I don't have that information for you, but I know that when we are standing out there in meeting people as they're driving up, and we're getting thumbs up, and I'm voting for you, and people stopping and talking, and even I got a donation today. I had somebody just walk up and say, I want to help you out. It's humbling, and it's just fun, and it makes us feel good about what we're doing and the kind of campaign we've run. I feel like we've run a campaign that is about the issues and is about our Madison County people, and is about really what the mayor's job is about. There's not a lot of impact in that role, not a lot of buttons I can push to make things happen, but you have to use influence, you have to use relationships, you have to use knowledge and kind of big picture type knowledge to get anything done in that office. And so that's that's why we run the campaign, is exactly that. How can we use all those things to bring cohesion and collaboration to move Madison County forward and get things done that we need to get done? So let's see, what else am I supposed to say here? So just as far as platforms go, just as hopefully you guys are putting in questions, I'll just kind of run through my platforms. Number one is we're going to empower and support law enforcement. I know that the sheriff's job is different and unique than the city police officer's job, and so we want to support that specifically and make sure that our departments are working well together. I want to make sure that our sheriff is funded well. I want to make sure that our law enforcement have what they need when they need it. I also want to make sure that they're spending our tax dollars that they currently have in wise ways. I want to make sure they have equipment and technology that they need to do their job well and efficiently. Obviously, recruiting and supporting business. Recruiting business is probably going to take care of itself in some ways over the next few years as Blue Oval City comes into town. Some of those supplier needs are going to be locating in West Tennessee, and most of them have to be within about a 50-mile radius of the plant. Well, that puts us, West Madison County, in the running for those suppliers. So we're going to have an influx of new businesses. I also want to support our local business, because when those new businesses come in and they're able to pay different wages, or they may be union shops that pay different wages and have different benefits, we have to support and make sure our local businesses have the workforce. And so we can do that in a couple ways we'll talk about in a second. Right now, improving our schools. Obviously, schools is a passion of mine. Public education is a passion of mine. Really, just any quality education is something that I have a lot of focus and time and energy in. We have great schools in our city, in our town, in our county, and I want to continue to invest in those, make sure that they have what they need. I've been on the budget committee as the budget chair the last year, and so we saw what happened with our county budget. We were able to trim it down about $4.5 million on our school system side, spending your tax dollars wisely. And so I want to make sure that accountability remains and the school system has what they need. And that's how we'll be able to supply some of these local businesses with quality workforce, by making sure we're putting out good students that show up and that can do what they need to do to keep the job and have the skills, both soft and hard skills, to do the job every single day. I want to keep taxes low, and I want to drive down the cost of living. And I think some of that's going to organically happen as new families look to locate near these opportunities. We're going to sell them hard, and we're going to make Madison County be the most attractive place for them. So that's going to put them in our county. That's going to put them paying county tax dollars. It's also going to increase our need for infrastructure. It's going to increase our need for some of those tax dollars to be spent in different ways. But we want to remain to keep taxes low. That's an extremely attractive thing about Madison County, is that people move here from all over the country. I've met people that have moved from California, or they moved from Chicago area, or they moved from Reno, Nevada, because they looked on a map and they Googled lowest cost of living per capita, and they find Jackson, Tennessee. They look at the climate. They look at our location in Memphis and Nashville. They look at outdoor opportunities, and they move here. They relocate here. They retire here because the cost of living is so low. And so definitely don't want to do anything to that. I'm a homeowner in town and own property in Madison County. I don't want my taxes to go up. So I think we can accomplish that a lot of ways. I also think the county's done a really good job spending our tax dollars. So there's room there before any kind of tax increase could ever be imagined. There's room there to use those dollars effectively. So I want to continue that and keep those taxes low. Accountability and transparency. That is probably one of the things I've heard the most on the campaign trail is when you get in office, are you going to be accessible? When you get in office, are we going to know what you're doing? When you get in office, are you going to be honest? Are you going to be upright? And it's the way I've lived my life. That's what I'm going to do when I'm in office. I just don't think you should have to hide something if you're proud of what you're doing. You're doing the right thing. There's no reason to hide it. So one thing I want to plan to do just about immediately is I want to produce a report every year that every single property taxpayer gets that has your tax dollars that you paid in and an accounting for where every nickel of those tax dollars went. So you'll be able to see on there that how much the mayor's salary took out of your tax dollars, how much the county commission took out, how much the sheriff's department took out, how much the schools took out. And you'll be able to see those trends and those trend lines on how much proportionately we spend on these different entities. So if we're spending a lot of money in an area, for example, roads, and the roads aren't quality and aren't what you want, well, then there's an issue there. Maybe we're not spending the money correctly, and that's something that our voters and folks in the county can speak into and help us fix. At the other side, if we say, hey, that's okay, we're spending too much money there, that area is working well, could we redirect the money over here? You're not guessing. You're not going to have to think about how are they spending our money. You're going to see it every single year. So that's extremely important to me. Protecting freedoms. I believe that our parents should have the right to decide what their children are taught in schools, particularly around social issues. I think that we should have the right to live our lives in a free and a free manner like our Constitution puts in place. And so that's really what I mean by that, protecting our freedoms, to make sure that our county is one that protects our freedoms to live life and make decisions in our own family that are best for our own family without impact of government. We just want government to stay out of our houses. That's really what that comes down to. And then finally, build attractiveness in Madison County. We want to make sure that we have options and amenities, entertainment, nightlife, social life, restaurants, parks, things that make Madison County attractive to other people. I want to make sure we clean up a little bit, make sure we pick up and make sure we have our litter problem under control. that's gotten really out of control. Making sure that happens. Once again, as new people move in, we're going to have increased pressure on those things. So making sure that the county is proactive and working and paying attention to keep Madison County attractive, both physically and just in livability for our Madison County constituents. So that's kind of my platforms. That's a really drive-by approach. But yeah, so let's take some questions. We have any questions in so far?
Not yet.
Okay.
So, tell us about ages of your kids.
Yes, I have 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. Brooks is in second grade at one of our public schools here in town, and a bright kid, loves to read, loves to, of course, play Switch and all those things that they do. My 3-year-old is, of course, not in school yet, but he is his name's Wells, and he's a fun kid, and we're hitting that. Don't let anybody tell you that terrible twos exist. Terrible twos aren't a real thing. Okay, it's three-nager. Okay, it's three-nager. So we have a three-nager in the Mazzy house, and so even as I left the house tonight, he was throwing a fit because he didn't get 2 more chips that he wanted, and left the pantry with a jar of jelly, and that's what he wanted for dinner, was a jar of jelly. Things like, y'all understand, y'all get that. But we're in the throes of that. Parenthood is the most satisfying and enjoyable thing I've ever done, and also the hardest thing I've ever done as well. But that's something that's where my passion lies. I've said it before and many times publicly. That's really why I want this job, is I want to be a part of what Madison County looks like over the next couple of decades, depending on how long I can keep the job and how long I want to keep the job. But in 20 years or so, 15 years or so, when those 2 boys have the option to leave and go make a settle somewhere else, I don't want them to. I want them to stay here. And so being a part of that, once again, just like why I joined the school board, I wanted to be a part of what my son was going to experience there. I want to be a part of what they're going to experience as they grow up in this community, to just capitalize on these opportunities and make sure we squeeze every single opportunity, every single drop out of these next 4 to 8 to 12 years to make sure that they have a community they want to stay in, they want to stay around, and they're not going to feel like they're missing anything to stay here. Please ask me questions. I'm an open book. Let me know what you need to know from me, or there's been some drama lately. I'd tackle that too. But y'all let me know what you have for me.
Can you talk about Shop Local and the focus of that's been on the campaign?
Yeah. So I'm very, very proud to say it's really about 98% of the money that I've spent in my campaign has been spent local. We raised a whole lot of money. I have very gracious and generous friends and family. And so we raised a pretty good pile of money, and we are spending every nickel we get. And like I said, 98% of it has been spent right here in Madison County or the state of Tennessee. Most of it right here in Madison County. All the big signs you've see around town were made right here in Madison County at a local business, owned by a family here in town. Everything from events that we have, or we have food, or we have drinks, or we have tables and chairs that we rent. Everything is done here locally, and we're trying to feed all that money that you guys have given me, feed that back into Madison County businesses, and that's going to continue going forward as we have. We're going to have a watch event for the results next Tuesday night at my headquarters downtown at 118 North Liberty. So everybody's invited to come out to that. All that's going to be local businesses providing food and cookies and things like that. Even my outstanding marketing firm that is behind this camera here is a local firm, a local family here in town and they invest in this community tremendously. So that was important to me. And they're also really, really, really stinking good at what they do. But that's very important to me. So 95%, 98% of my money was spent here in Madison County or Tennessee as a whole. So that's very important to me. That's not the case for some of these campaigns. A lot of campaigns will farm it out and they'll buy stuff from California and wherever else. We didn't do that, and I'm proud to say that we didn't do that because I hope that I helped, pay somebody's car payment or a house payment by a contribution that our campaign was able to make to their business.
Question from the audience: how can we help you from now until Election Day?
Hey, how can you help me from now until Election Day? Well, first of all, vote Tuesday if you haven't already. Please bring friends with you. Make it a priority. The polls are open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. There are 29 voting locations all across Madison County. You can get there, go there, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. next Tuesday. The second thing, we're going to be making some phone calls this weekend. We're in the process of narrowing down our list of potential voters that we want to target and that haven't already voted. And we're going to bug them this weekend. Anybody that I've talked to or interacted with and I have a small army doing this, go through your phone and just check with people. You can check with me. You can text me a list of names, and I'll tell you which one of those have voted and which one haven't, because I have that list updated as of 4 o'clock today. So you can email or text friends and say, hey, I noticed you hadn't voted. Get out and do that, please, or I'll come pick you up Tuesday or whatever. Obviously, the name of the game is votes, so that's a big thing. Another thing is Tuesday, 29 voting locations. I would love to have someone at every voting location for some period of time. I don't know if we can pull that off. That's a lot of people and a lot of hours. But I do have some people that have some free time. I do have some people that could take some time off and could help me out there. So we're going to be strategic about where we want to put signs and people, deploy people to greet people as they come to the polls. It matters, y'all. It matters. Something I've never realized with a campaign. I've stood out there and waved for friends that have run for offices, but I mean, I've had, putting a number on it, probably 10 conversations the last 2 weeks with people that drove in and said, are you AJ Massey? Yes, I am. Well, let me ask you this question. And we were able to have a conversation, and they said, well, all right, I'm going to go vote for you. I had a lady today ask me, she's a Hispanic woman. She said, what's your feelings about immigration? What are your feelings about the Hispanic population in Madison County? And we get great conversation. I hadn't had that question yet. And so she said, well, I'm going in to vote for you. I just wanted to know answer that question before I did. And so, it matters. And so, I'm not asking anybody to stand out there and be my voice necessarily, but it's just important to have a presence there. And it gets you excited. Like I said, you get all kinds of thumbs up and voting for you. And you also get the scratch their head and turn the other way. And, you're probably not getting that one. But it gives you a good feel of how the campaign's going, gets you a good feel of how the votes are falling out. So those are probably the three big ones. Just reaching out to folks either in a strategic way by a list I give you, making phone calls off of a list. If you can take 20 names, I'll send them to you. Call them, hey, have you voted yet? If you haven't, I encourage you to go vote and vote for my friend AJ. Number two, texting your friends directly with that same sort of message. And number three, Tuesday, if you can volunteer a lunch break, if you can volunteer a couple hours, morning, afternoon, and go out there and I will put you to work. So let me know. You can let me know in the comments, or you can send me a message directly in some other fashion. But let me know if you can volunteer. We also have an online voter or volunteer registration form on ajmassey.com. You can jump on there and put in your contact info, and I'll reach out and put you to work. So good question, though. I appreciate that.
What about the homeless people? Will there be more shelters for them?
Well, the city's working on a shelter right now. It's in a prime location as far as that goes. It's going to be walkable for most of our population that is homeless in the center city area. As far as homelessness outside of the county, I haven't encountered that much or seen that much. And I know there's poverty in the county, absolutely. And I know there's issues in our county. But the homeless population tends to be in places that services are walkable. And so that's going to be center city. That's a passion of mine. I think biblically we're commanded to take care of our folks that are less fortunate. And so that's a directive that Jesus himself said multiple times. And so that's a directive in my life as well, by extension. So we're going to have a focus on that. We're going to have a plan around that. I want us to see how we are helping with that. I think one thing that the county can do better is fund our nonprofits in a way that frees them up and allows them to help us with this problem. We have a wealth of nonprofits in town that have great services and great understanding of these different needs, whether it's addiction or whether it's homelessness or whether it's food needs, whatever. They have the expertise, they have the ideas, they have the structures in place to fill those needs. They may just need some help, some funding, some attention, some advocacy, and so that you're going to get that from me. We're going to make sure that, once again, because here's the deal, if a nonprofit doesn't solve it or fix it or at least alleviate it, the county either is not doing their job and not addressing it, or they're not addressing it well, because somebody's got to address it or it just doesn't get addressed. So my point is, let's let the experts do it. The county can step in the gap when we need to, but I'm not an expert in that area. That's another thing I do want to mention. All these people throughout the last 4 months that have been bringing issues to me, you can go back and look on some of my Facebook posts and questions that I get. If some people have their thing, y'all get this, people have their thing that's important. I want better parks. I want our city to be clean. I want a senior center in my part of the town. Whatever. People have their thing. And so I've been telling people, don't mess around, because you keep asking me about that thing, you're going to be on a committee to help fix that thing. So if you want to come with a question, I encourage folks to come with solutions as well, or at least ideas. And we're going to build some committees around these things to make sure that people that are passionate about that can carry that torch and help me as your mayor advocate for that in educated, well thought out, proactive ways.
What is one of the first things you'd like to accomplish when you are in office?
Wow, I get asked this question quite a bit. Well, the first thing I want to accomplish is bringing unity to the role. a campaign season, as we've seen, can be very divisive and can bring a lot of negativity and things out. So one of the big jobs is going to be having to try to let people know that I'm in this job for everybody. I'm in this job for everybody that lives downtown, that lives in Meaden or Mercer or wherever. That's who I'm representing, is the county as a whole, all 100,000 people. And that includes my opponents and their families. That includes maybe local leadership that didn't support me or whatever. Getting in there and understanding that bygones are bygones. We're all here for the same thing. Let's all work together to make sure we're going to be doing things that are improving and not working against each other. All right. So I've said it before. It's cheesy, but it's true. I'm a bridge builder, not a wall builder. And I want to build bridges so that we can do as much together as quickly as possible. So that'd be kind of job number one. Job number 1B would be making sure that I'm known and somewhat trusted as far as I can early on with all the departments of the county. Like I said before, most of the county departments are elected officials, and so they're going to be elected too. A lot of those are going to be new. We're going to have a lot of new faces on the county commission, I believe. I think we're going to have some new faces in different departments, and so we have to make sure that we all are on the same page. They know my heart, and they know that I'm going to lead from the bottom up. I'm going to serve, and we're going to make sure that we all look better at the end of the day. So getting to know, getting to be liked, getting to be trusted with all those folks is kind of priority one. I think just because that's a passion of mine, I think that'll move quickly. I'm not saying it's going to go smoothly, but it'll move quickly, and we're gonna get our hands dirty with each department. And I want to just peel back the onion, man. Look at every piece of that department. That's what I've done my whole career, really, is just data search and get proof of concept for everything. So if you're doing something that you believe in, it convince me. Tell me why it's the best thing and why I need to be advocating for it for you. And we'll see. Maybe that another department's trying the same thing in a different way. Maybe we can work together. So that's really what it is getting to be known by everybody in the county and get this learning curve moved as fast as possible.
Catherine asks, have you seen the card saying things about you I feel are not true from the Tennessee PAC? Could you speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, we released a video this morning directly about that piece and others. Those were pieces of conversation that were pulled apart and put back together in a way that made me look like I was saying something I really wasn't. And so they're just plainly, they're lies. I've never advocated for, nor do I want to increase taxes. I've never talked about defunding the police or that I have supported the organization Black Lives Matter. The interesting thing about that, my Facebook post was way bigger than what they showed, first of all. Number two, there was a hashtag in there, Black Lives Matter. And if you read my other hashtags, it makes a lot better sense. All lives matter. And I think it's okay. I had a friend that used this excuse, all houses matter. But when there's a house fire, that house needs some attention. That post was from 2020. And if you remember what was happening in that world, there was a hyper attention on the African-American culture and what was happening to them and our culture as a whole. And so that being a passion of mine, and that me having literally a brother who's an African-American, not an actually adopted brother, but a guy that lived with us for several years that played basketball at Union, I consider my brother. And then, of course, growing up at JCM, some of my dearest friends don't look like me. And that's a passion of mine. I think thinking anyone is less than anybody else is just silly. And that's the way we're raising our boys. But anyway, that's a passion of mine. So I thought it was okay to say, you know what, Black lives do matter. I can shine a light on them in this moment. And that was taken out of context, that I somehow supported a movement that was to defund the police. Not true. And so, once again, the people that know me and have known me more than 5 minutes I've had so much response today from people that have said that has actually gone the other direction, that they don't like the way that the tone of that article or that piece. So once again, not true. Also, dare I say, I think it's okay to have friends that don't believe my same political viewpoints. I don't agree with some of my friends, especially Gabe Hart, one that was listed on there. Gabe and I disagree on just about every national political issue that you can pick. And we have disagreed. I went to high school with Gabe. I've known him for 25 years. He's a good friend of mine. We differ on those national political issues. But when it comes to local politics and what happens in this county, the way that we see pro-choice versus pro-life probably isn't going to come into play, won't come into play in local Madison County politics. Gabe and I, both realize this. And so we are he understands that we want to work together. He understands that we are the same and want the same things in this county. When those bigger political social issues come into play, if they ever do, he and I are not going to agree probably. But you know what? That's okay. Gabe's a friend of mine, and he can think the way he wants to think, and we can work together. So that's. Let me grab a drink real quick, guys. I can address that. Thank you, sir. I can address those, but I did see it, and it's unfortunate that that's the way things have gone. But I do want to reiterate, I made a commitment to my family, to my church, to my friends, that if I was going to do this, that we were going to do this in a completely upright and honest way, and we would not throw stones, and we haven't. And so I'm not going to start tonight, but I just am going to say it is unfortunate. It's hurtful. But guys, we're good. Don't worry about the masses. We're good. Once again, we know that it's not true, and we know it doesn't represent who we are, and we know that it's a twist of something, and that's just somehow, unfortunately, the way this game can be played. Oh yeah, the other one, crossover voting. I've never asked anybody to crossover vote. Literally, never asked anybody to crossover vote. I have expressed that the people that want to vote for me can go vote for me, and I've given them how you do that. You ask for the Republican primary ballot. I did not target anyone. I didn't bring some mail out to a certain group or organization or political affiliation that you guys, here's how I want you to. Never happened. I've never asked anybody to cross over vote at any point in time. I've simply asked for votes, and that was from a general sense.
Okay. Next question. With a lot of there's a lot of follow-up comments to this one, asked by some folks I know who live out south. As a resident of South Madison County, share your thoughts about the newly planned bypass as well as the Highway 18 project and how it will or will not affect small business in Madison County. Follow up, our personal home, childhood home, is slated to be taken on the Highway 18 project as well as 2 additional parcels that we own. This is very important to us.
Yeah, I may have talked to you at the event out south for to discuss that area. I met some folks whose houses were in the potential bypass lanes, and we're going to be taken up. I'll be real honest with you. That's not where I live, and I've asked some of the county commissioners that currently lead that area what they think about the project. I've heard really positive things about the project. And once again, that's not from me knowing details. That's me knowing what the project looked like. I've gone to a couple of Q&A sessions to look at what it's going to be and how it's going to be funded and those different things. And I've leaned on those county commissioners that represent those areas to let me know what they think about that project, and they're very positive about it. That being said, anybody's childhood home or homestead being impacted by government is difficult, and I can just say I'm sorry that I don't know what I could do to alleviate that, but goodness gracious, I wish I could. I don't have an opinion about that project as it stands, other than what my county commissioners, my friends that are county commissioners, have said about it, which is positive for the most part. Highway 18, I went to University of Mississippi. I took Highway 18 pretty much every weekend. That road needs some attention and some work. It needs to be wider. It needs to be more accessible for those big trucks that sometimes come through there. And I've also heard for years that that's going to be happening. So I'll believe it when I see it if Highway 18 gets addressed. But I think it needs to be. As far as the impact on South Madison County, personally, I don't think it's going to turn into a north bypass situation where you're going to have a tremendous amount of businesses pop up. Highland used to be the main thoroughfare, and then the bypass was started to bypass Highland, and now we need a bypass on the bypass because all those businesses started to pop up, and it became as clustered as Highland is. And so I don't think that's going to happen as rapidly out south. I think that it could. But that's another thing, and that's a really interesting thing about our community is I want to spend some more time in some of our outside of the city areas because I hear both sides of that conversation. I hear people saying, what are you going to do out south? How are you going to bring businesses out south? We need more restaurants. We need something after dark. And then I also hear people that say, leave us alone. We like what we have. We don't need any more traffic, no more people. We like how quiet it is. So I think it's, and I want to hear as many, not the loudest voices, but I want to hear as many voices as possible so that we can get south what they need. And once again, as far as that bypass project, I don't know if that's something that the county mayor could stop or would want to stop. But I do feel bad and feel sorry for people that have to be impacted by that in a negative way.
I took my youngest daughter to a volleyball tournament in Cape Girardeau. The place was awesome. 9 games at a time, plus facilities to have soccer, baseball practice. Do you think Jackson needs something like that?
Yes, I do, 100%. My brother lives in the St. Louis area, and they have multiple indoor basketball and volleyball facilities, and they're always at these places, and they're well built, and they're well located and well funded, and it's thriving. I had a friend of mine send me a message this weekend. Was at a baseball tournament in Oxford, and Oxford, Mississippi, and it was they've spent money in the right ways. I think we've seen how effective the Sportsplex has been. That project, I believe, has paid for itself a few times over. It's been a wise investment by our city and our county. So I think there's some other opportunities like that. I actually had somebody ask me, they said, what if we turn the old service merchandise building into an indoor soccer facility? I thought that'd be awesome. How do we make that happen? Well, we gotta buy it. We gotta find, get investors. And so those are kind of things that as a father of two young children who like sports and are into sports, as all my friends are always at volleyball and soccer and basketball and baseball, I think we need more opportunities in that. I think that, there's one basketball facility here in town, basically, maybe two, a couple of baseball parks, obviously the Sportsplex. There's no volleyball facility that I know of that could have a tournament with multiple teams, just because it's just not there. I think there's some opportunity for that. So I'm for that. I'm pro that, and I will help make that happen if I can as a county mayor. I'll help try to get the right people to the table to try to make something like that happen, because I think it benefits, and it also makes us more sellable to those folks that are maybe deciding they're working at Ford or near Ford, and they do I want to locate in East Memphis, or do I want to Lakeland, Bartlett, Germantown area, or do I want to locate in Jackson or Madison County? So you say, hey, look, we got all these things. We have low cost of living, and by the way, we've got this outstanding facility where you don't have to drive to Cape Girardeau for a tournament over the weekend. Good question.
Can you talk about? You started to talk about Louisville City. Can you talk about how we need to handle that?
Yeah, so Louisville City is going to change the landscape of West Tennessee, really the state as a whole. I don't think anybody knows what it's really going to do, and I'm talked to everybody that I could talk to, and I get differing opinions on how big or how small. But guys, this is the first manufacturing facility that Ford has built since 1964. This is going to be 5,700 employees, up to 6,000 and even 10,000 down the road potential. That tradition tells us, economics tells us, for all 5,700 of those employees, there's 7 jobs that are there to serve those. So about 40,000 jobs are needed to serve those, and that's in restaurants, that's in infrastructure needs, that's in gas stations, all those things to serve all those employees and all those supplier needs. So it's gonna happen. It's happening. It's coming. It's gonna be the most technologically advanced manufacturing facility on planet Earth when it's done. So there's going to be all these needs, from the tires to the windshields to the electronics to somebody to feed all those 5,700 every day. There's going to be so many needs in this area. And like I said earlier, within 50 miles of that facility, Ford requires that some of their suppliers have to be within 50 miles. So we're going to pick up some of those. The good news is JEA and our city and our county have the sites ready to go for these suppliers to come in and build factories in our town. And in our community, so we're not waiting on any kind of wastewater infrastructure. We're ready to go. So we're going to be top of the list on those things. So it's, like I said, going to change everything, and that's why I'm really running this race. A big reason is because I want to make sure that we are on our toes, that we're ready to go, and we're seeing things change around here in a positive way. We're getting the good suppliers, we're getting the good workforce that we want, that fit our culture, that fit our community. We are able to impact infrastructure, our roads and our bridges and everything else that's needed to support all this extra traffic on our roads, that we're putting the money in the right place to make sure that those things remain strong. And we feel as little negative impact from Ford coming in as possible. There's going to be a lot of good. Also, like I said before, it's going to negatively impact some of our local businesses in some way in our local industry, because of price differences and the fact that Ford is going to be a union shop. So they're going to be able to pay in a different way than some of our local businesses. So we have to help businesses bridge that gap, not just with money, but with incentives and things that help them become attractive to local employees. I said at the forum Tuesday night, for example, childcare. A decade ago, there were over 80 childcare centers, daycares in Madison County. Today, there's, I think, 26. That should shock you. And the ones that are open are expensive and really, really hard to get in. and are located in places that parents have to. I'm getting nods from our folks that know this in the room. That parents have to find a way to get their kids there, their children there. It's just a hard process. And so if I have to choose between that, staying home with my kids, and going to work and all that extra stress, I may be encouraged to stay home. So employers might look at putting in daycare facilities and childcare centers on site, on campus, so their employees can come work while their kids are there. And that opens up other shift opportunities. They can work overnight. The kids asleep anyway. Different things like that to incent our folks locally to do that. And I think our county can be an advocate for that and put attention in the right place to help make that happen. But Ford is it's just a big deal, y'all. It's a big deal, and it's going to be a tremendous good for our community. I think it's going to make this place look different, just because of the influx of attention and tax dollars and revenue for our county and our city. So it's going to look different in a lot of ways, and we got to be on our toes and be ready to impact it and have it be as mostly possible positive as possible.
Will you commit to bringing back the Zoom Flow, which is apparently a state-of-art spiral water slide located near Lambeth?
I don't even know what that is.
That's a Stephen Eldridge question, just for reference.
Oh, I don't know what that is. Although I am an advocate for bringing back Magic Mountain out in Three-Way, or whatever that was called, the water park out there. But no, once again, that's I know it may be a funny question, but livability is big. Once again, I want my kids and my kids' kids to have places to have fun and entertainment here in town that we don't have to travel for. We are having one of those happen automatically. Great Wolf Lodge is coming, and if you don't know what Great Wolf Lodge is, just do a little bit of Googling on that, man. That place is 470 rooms, I believe. It's going to be out near the ballpark, near the Sportsplex. It is a fully encased water park, and it's built towards children. Children. My son we were a couple of years ago, well, probably 18 months ago or so, walking through the living room. My 8-year-old has YouTube on. He's watching this family go through this hotel, and they had necklaces on, and they would touch these different things, and these things would come alive and interact with them, and then they're swimming and do it. It was amazing, and I was like, I want to go there. Where is that? And he said, and so he looked at the information. He said, it's this Great Wolf Lodge thing, and I said, we're getting one of those, man. And so, that's going to be huge. That's going to draw some people into our community from outside, but more stuff like that, positive things that bring good and bring revenue and bring families into our town where we have some entertainment and some things to do. So that's obviously something I'm an advocate for. All that stuff costs money, and it's hard to do, but I think there's a pathway to get there.
With availability for childcare being a big issue in Madison County, how do you plan to support local nonprofits like the Boys and Girls Club to better support the need?
Well, I'm on the Boys and Girls Club board of directors, so I'm going to support them directly by my time and my commitment to helping them raise money and be an advocate for their organization and serve there. So I've been on there for a couple of years now, and Miss Sabrina is a great director, and I love my time on the Boys and Girls Club. So you've got an advocate sitting right here for that, and I think that there's some opportunity to help and promote that as well. But that's you're exactly right. That's a need and an opportunity to bridge some of this childcare where they have a safe place to go. That they get snacks in the afternoon and they get educated. My goodness, when I first joined the Boys and Girls board, I thought this is going to be an area where the kids just go play. No. Our Boys and Girls Club locations are highly technologically advanced with computers and different opportunities for kids to be educated and have tutors. I think it's probably about, half and half, maybe more, but there's a lot of education and quality tutoring and homework help that happens in those facilities. And once again, those kids are safe, they're fed, and they're cared for until mom or dad or whomever can come pick them up in the afternoon. So definitely more of that. I think continue the push for pre-K in our schools is another issue. If we can have, we have 25 schools, and 2/3 of those are elementary schools. If we can have all those be have a pre-K classroom, have pre-K classrooms to serve everybody coming to those schools, that shaves a year off of the need. So normally I have to wait till 5 to send this child to school, where I have at least 2 meals a day, and I have 7 or 8 hours of time away from them. I can move that back a year, and now my 4-year-old, I can send that child there a year earlier. So just shaves off one more year of difficulty for some of our folks in town. So there are tremendous opportunities to improve in that area. And once again, as a dad, understanding the needs in that world, as a school board member, and like I said, I'm a Boys and Girls Club board of directors member as well. So see the need, know the need, and I'll give the need some attention.
Do you think the current county mayor has done a good job? What could he have done to be more effective?
Good question. I do think the current county mayor has done a good job. I think that Mayor Harris is somebody who is a staple in our community, and he's done a lot of really positive things for our community. I think one of the things I most admire him for was his ability to navigate COVID like he did. He didn't make all the right decisions; nobody did, but he was able to. We saw some real community unity with that. Our city and our county, our health department, our state, for the most part, were in lockstep and made decisions that I know weren't popular. Trust me, I was on the school board during that time. Everybody had their opinion and knew the right answer, when in reality nobody did. But he took some shots for that, but he made some really hard decisions. That being said, our county ranks 95th in a whole lot of categories. Now, those most of those categories directly, for example, healthcare, education, some of those issues that are older than him, older than his 15 years in the office, aren't his fault directly. But I do think we need some attention, some fresh eyes. And I think I said this at the forum Tuesday night. Mayor Harris is a friend. I have tremendous admiration for the man. I do think good leaders do know when to step aside. I don't want Mayor Harris to go anywhere. I don't. I'm going to ask him, if I win this job, to not go anywhere. I want him to step aside, though, and be there for advocacy and historical context and knowledge that he has to help somebody like me that's taking over a new role. Maybe I don't bloody my nose on that same thing he did when he first got in office. He can help somebody like me navigate the politics of the job, can help me navigate the state relationship. That's one thing that I think Mayor Harris has done an admirable job with as well. Was the county mayor does have some influence on the state level. 95 counties in the state. If the governor or the state representatives need to know something about a bill or about an issue, they can talk to each city mayor, each alderman group, each all those entities, thousands of them, or they can reach out to one or a group of those 95 mayors and get a consensus for what that area of the state needs and wants. And so I think he's done a good job of building bridges there, and I want to replicate that and continue to do that. And then once again, understanding that I'm not Mayor Harris. I'm not going to do things exactly the way he does, and that's going to upset some people that have been around a while. At the same time, I think it's time for refreshing and new eyes and a new perspective, so we can get off that 95th out of 95 list.
How does your experience working with people of different political beliefs on the school board prepare you to be mayor?
Great question. So the first 2 years on the school board were rough. If anybody paid attention to the news, they know that. That's no secret. And I believe some of that was well-intentioned people that weren't willing to understand the big picture. The last 2 years, 18 months or so, Dr. King is a miracle worker and has come in and has brought cohesion. But how he did it was in driving at what keeps us together and not what separates us. A political difference on the national scale, for example, how you spend money, how you tax people. I'm very conservative. I don't like taxes. I think the government should stay out of our pockets and stay out of our homes. Not everybody that I serve with on the school board sees that way. But that's an opportunity for us to say, okay, you disagree in that area, but let's talk about children. Let's talk about curriculum. Let's talk about school safety. Let's talk about paying our teachers well. Let's talk about bonuses. Let's talk about the mental health needs of our students. Let's talk about universal pre-K. Let's talk about these things that we can all be on board for and find a way. I joined the school board with Shannon Stewart. Shannon and I differ politically in a tremendous number of ways. But we talked before we both were elected, and I told her, and she agreed. I said, I just don't see us disagreeing about our children in our community. And we never did. When it came to voting, when it came to talking about issues, it was always superintendent-driven and student and teacher and parents-driven. And so we just were able to do that. So once again, finding that thing that unifies. There's a saying that says nothing unifies like a common enemy. And I think we can see that in a lot of places. And so the enemy being children in poverty, the enemy being failing schools, the enemy being unsafe schools. Let's all rally around, and nothing's going to unify us like going to attack that issue and taking care of it. So that's been a big issue. That's been a big part. I think the fact that I've had, and I've gotten some criticism for this, but I have friends on the school board that are traditional Democrats that are supporting me because they've seen the way I've conducted myself the last 4 years, and there's a commonality of good and respect there. They're coming alongside me and saying this guy needs to be our next mayor because, once again, He's not a Democrat like me, but I see his heart for the people, and we believe he can lead our community well. Gotten some criticism for that, wildly enough, but I take that support. I take that that pat on the back from people that I see.
You mentioned ACEs last night. I think you're the only candidate to do so. Can you talk about the impact of that on our community?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, ACEs stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences, and we all have them, okay? You may not know that you had them, but if I were to give you the test, the ACEs test, you'd have a couple. But they are, for example, witnessing abuse, poverty, neglect, food shortages, food issues, abandonment, physical harm. There's a long list of ACEs, and each one of those, if you hit to a certain number of ACEs in your childhood, it begins to impact your brain development as a child. And then on later in life, studies have shown it can impact your health. Heart issues, lung issues, cancer, things like that are impacted by this world of ACEs. So my eyes were opened up to that, being on the school board and going to some clinics and going to the state school board association and sitting through some classes about ACEs and how they, we all think we want to improve these things, but when you think all of those things on the whole, they impact our children, our community tremendously. And there are adults walking around today that have adverse childhood experiences that are still impacting them today. So, so I think recognizing that and putting, once again, the right resources behind our nonprofits to address that, our mental health experts in our schools, having those available, so that, little Johnny comes in on a Monday morning and the teacher tells him to get a pencil, and little Johnny loses his mind and screams and tips over a desk and gets in big trouble. And the teacher says, well, all I did was ask him to get a pencil. Well, a well-educated teacher would understand that Monday morning may be coming with 2 days of stress. He hasn't eaten in 2 days, and he saw mom get abused, and the police were at his house twice this weekend, and he saw drug abuse around him, and he's all these things that little Johnny experienced this previous weekend. The balloon popped on Monday morning at 8 a.m. It wasn't the teacher. It was a bad situation that all those ACEs came out. And so it damages everything. So, once again, that's something that I hope nobody's dealing with that's watching this. But if you are, let's get some help. But it is a reality for our community and for a tremendous number of our community. And just the fact that I feel like I know and are aware of that, we can start to help impact that.
While you get a drink there, what's your favorite local restaurant to eat at?
Favorite local restaurant? Well, I go to like Los Portales and Tulum a whole lot. We love Tacos for Life. Obviously, I'm on a Mexican kick. Probably the Asia Garden is probably my favorite local restaurant. I love sushi. Sushi is like one of those love or hate things. You either I don't want to touch it or I can't get enough of it. I'm in the can't get enough of it area. I love sushi. The Ye family, JCM graduate, great ball player. To have a lot of love and respect for that family, and Asia Garden just does it right. So I'd say probably Asia Garden.
What's your go-to roll?
Go-to roll? It's called the Sendai roll. Sendaii, and it's a monster roll, and it's super spicy, and I love it, and a good nap after a Sendai roll for sure.
Okay. Why have we not built a running track with the last schools built that would allow Jackson to host state tournaments?
Because I wasn't on the school board when we did that. My dad is a track coach, or was a track coach all my life. I know the importance of a 1/4 mile, 8-lane, Olympic-size track being around campuses. Back when I was not on the school board before my time, the school board at the time chose to build Liberty and some other places that with just a concrete circle around the field. It wasn't regulation. It's not regulation. And so that was a missed opportunity. I know there were issues then. I wasn't there. I don't know what it was, but it didn't get done. I'm proud to say that the new Jackson Central Mary track that'll be in Center City and the new sports complex that'll be the stadium as well as Oman Arena will be a 8-lane 1/4 mile track. I've pressed Dr. King on that. He's in agreement with that. We're going to put an 8-lane quality surface as well as a quality surface football field 1/4 mile track where we can begin to host, and all the ancillary shot put, discus, things like that, where we can start hosting some maybe local tournaments, but definitely be in the running for a state tournament someday, fingers crossed, right there in the center of our city, Midtown area. In a nice, new, pretty area that's going to feed from downtown. I just have this pie-in-the-sky idea how great it's going to be. But my point is, the next stadium that Jackson-Madison County School System is going to build is going to be that JCM Stadium, and it will have a 1/4 mile, 8-lane track. And I'm saying it out loud so Dr. King hears me, and he has to stick to his word.
Do you have any plans to fix the roads near Midtown? I live off Campbell, and we deal with flooding every time it rains.
Well, those are city roads, so no, I don't have a plan for those. If it's Midtown, if it's in the city limits, that's a city issue. I can tell you that our city has done an admirable job in proactively planning for city roads to be fixed and when and how. They're doing them the right way, I believe, and they have a proactive plan. So if you want to know when that road's going to be fixed, go on that Ready 311 app that they have for the city and ask that question: when is my area going to be repaired? And get some eyeballs on it, get some attention, and hopefully get you an answer on a date or a time frame that may happen.
How do you plan to work with the sheriff to decrease crime in our county?
Well, I think experts need to work where experts need to work. I'm not a law enforcement expert, but I can learn, and we can begin to see some moving of the needle there. Whoever wins, there's several people running for sheriff. Whoever wins is going to have a big job, a PR job on the front end to fix some things with the PR with the sheriff's department. But beyond that, I think some positive movement has happened. I think that I've been told, and I know there are more patrols on the street than there were 4 years ago. There's more sheriff's deputies out in our county roads and our county areas. I've had people tell me that. We've never seen patrols. We all said never seen patrols the last few years. So there's some momentum there. With the unique makeup of our county, it's very vast. It's very expansive. And just once again, sitting down with the sheriff and making sure that we're on the same page, making sure that I'm letting the expert be the expert in the area that they know well, and they have the support from me. I will continue to educate myself from their opinion as well as outside opinions on what county law enforcement should look like and do. And we'll work together to get there. I'm not the expert in law enforcement, but I can find somebody who is.
What are the best qualities of a leader?
Wow, deep question there. Best qualities of a leader, I believe, are really two things. I think you have to have tremendous humility, and I think you have to have tremendous charisma. And what I mean by charisma is the ability to communicate and vision cast well. Great leaders, Jim Collins in his book Good to Great talks about that. Good leaders see opportunities for selfishness. they like to look good. If their business does well, it's a reflection on them as a person. Great leaders have that ability and that drive and that passion, but they also have great humility to put the good off, to say that's not me, that's them. Take on the bad. That's something my dad's taught me all my life. When the team wins, the head coach pushes all that out. That's my coaches, that's my players, that's all this team. When the team loses, that's my fault. I'm the one that missed the mark here. I didn't get my team prepared. I didn't have this in place. So I think that's good. A tremendous amount of humility. I think great leaders have to have understanding of processes and be a process leader. They also have to be people leaders, and that's an odd mix. I've worked for men and women who have both. Or very rarely have I worked for people that have both, but I've had great leaders that were people leaders, that were passionate, that you loved, that you would just do anything for. They weren't great in the processes. They would find somebody to bring in and do the process leading. I've had great process leaders that couldn't work effectively with people very well because they were so focused and good on the process. Rare leaders have both, and so I think great leaders have to have a deep understanding of processes, of how things work, but also the understanding of people to drive vision and drive cohesion and pushing having everybody pull the rope the same direction. I could talk about leadership for hours. I love this topic, but those are some of kind of the highlights of what I think a great leader is. Passion is very important as well, and love and concern for your people.
Do you think Mayor Conger and yourself will be able to work together cohesively?
I do. Scott and I have been around Jackson together for a long time. Even though he's a Southside guy and I'm a Jackson Central Mary guy, we can still get along. And he is a friend and he's an advocate. Scott and I are such good friends that I can call him if I think that he made a bonehead move and a bad decision, and we can hash it out and talk about it. At the same time, we genuinely like each other. So sitting shoulder to shoulder across from a prospect looking to relocate to West Tennessee and to Jackson and to Madison County we're not going to fake it. We're not going to pretend like we like each other. It's not going to be awkward. We're going to be able to be there and be there for each other and understand who we are. Once again, Scott and I aren't alike in a lot of ways, but our passion for our community is present. And yeah, we'll be able to work together. Like I said, close enough to where I'm not going to do what Scott says every time, and vice versa. He's not going to do what I say every time. But we will be able to sit down and find a commonality of good where the city and the county win when at all possible.
I think it's a good time to wrap it up and
Okay.
ask people to support what you need them to do.
Hey, thank y'all for joining, and thank you for the good questions. Election day is May 3rd. Election day is Tuesday. So I need you guys to show up. Let me know if you can and will support me in any way. Showing up, helping out with waving and signing and signs and all that stuff on Tuesday. making some phone calls or just committing to making those phone calls or text messages with your own friend group. I'm very accessible. Send me a Facebook message, comment on something. I think I've replied to every single comment or anything that I've gotten. So let me know if you have a question or something that makes you feel uneasy, maybe about my campaign, a question that you didn't want to ask publicly here. Shoot me a message, and I'll try to answer those things. But I just want to say thanks to everybody. You know, this journey has been something like I've never experienced in my life. And it's been the most frustrating thing, but it's also been extremely rewarding to have people that I didn't know loved me the level they did. I told somebody today, I said, you know, I knew back at the beginning of this that I would understand and know who my real friends were and who my real enemies were. And I've had surprises in both of those areas. But man, the people that I knew liked me, but have sacrificed so much for me in time and effort, and taken blows and family members against family members because of this, but they stand up for me because they believe I'm the right person at the right time. It's just so humbling, and it drives me. And so I want to thank anybody who I'm talking about. You know who you are. I love you, and I appreciate you. Those folks that have supported me and have responded to our message, let me know, and I just appreciate it.